One of the first reported UFO sightings was in 1450 BC. That's over 3,000 years ago. In ancient Egypt, after a military campaign in Nubia, Thutmose III had a stele erected at the Temple of Amun. A totem pole, basically. The stele describes how a star came to the south. It shot at their enemy. None could stand the flames being behind them, and fire was in front of them. So, for one of the first UFO sightings 3,000 years ago, after a military campaign, the people of the city all got together and created a totem pole describing how when they fought their enemy, none could stand the flames being behind them and the fire that was in front of them. I wonder if they're just saying that they were as strong as, you know, a star shooting flames. Just something really cool. Kind of sounds like some fanfic. But let's go to 218 BC. So this is about 2,200 years ago. In Rome, during one of the Punic War's worst crisis, the Senate dealt with an unprecedented number of confirmed oddities, basically. One of the historians living in Rome 2,200 years ago recorded a number of these strange oddities, including a phantom navy of ships flying through the sky, and an ox climbing to the third story of a home. The spontaneous combustion of weapons, the apparent shrinking of the sun's disk, 2 moons in a day-lit sky, a cosmic battle between sun and moon, a rain of red-hot stones, a bloody sweat on statues, and blood in fountains, and on ears of corn. So they were seeing some crazy stuff. Could it be because of the aliens trying to remove them from the area? Maybe the Romans were on top of some major gold that the aliens needed. A couple hundred years later, spark from a falling star. A spark fell from a star and it grew as it descended until it appeared to be the size of the moon. It then ascended and transformed into a torch. Apparently, his description of an object coming near the earth and continuing back into the sky matches the expected trajectory of a fireball crossing above an observer. In the 1700s, a fireball that burst above Melun, France was widely discussed by contemporary astronomers. An official French Academy of Science investigation that was led by Jean-Baptiste Leroy. In 1794, they published a book proposing that meteors were small objects that fell to Earth from space, and that small bodies existed in space beyond the moon. At first, initially ridiculed, Chadleen's book became the starting point for the modern field of meteorotics. That's pretty crazy, but I mean, it sounds like it was just a meteor. According to Plutarch, who was a Greek philosopher, historian, biographer, essayist, and priest, he was basically an everything man. He says a Roman army commanded by Lucilius, who was a Roman general and statesman, was about to begin battle with the Pontus when the sky burst asunder and a huge flame-like body was seen to fall between the two armies. Plutarch reports that the shape of the object as like a wine jar. And this was their wine jars at the time that he was referring to. No battle occurred. So that's pretty crazy. Because of this interference, otherworldly, they had to stop their whole battle they were going to ensue upon. There was over 30,000 men there. About 10 years after that, in the Roman Empire again, Roman Jewish historian Flavius Joseph reported chariots hurtling through the clouds prior to the first Jewish-Roman war. So before a war even happened, this historian, he saw chariots hurtling through the clouds. I couldn't imagine seeing that. A whole, you know, US military army just strolling through the clouds. That's crazy. Hundreds of years later, in Ireland, there were ships seen with their crews in the air. And this is only in the year 740. The original report simply mentioned an apparition of ships with the crews in the sky over Ireland in the 700s. Later accounts through the Middle Ages progressively expanded on this with their picturesque details. First, the ships were reduced to one ship over Tello Town, from which a crewman threw and then recovered a fishing spear. Then the scene shifted to the Abbey of Clonmacnoise, and later to Britain, and the fishing spear was changed to an anchor, which snagged on some feature of a church. The sailor which climbed down to release it was also said to be in danger of drowning in the thicker air of this lower world. That sounds like an alien. In the 1500s, in Rome again, an aerial battle followed by the appearance of something like a black spear, very long and thick. Hundreds of spears, cylinders, and other odd-shaped objects that moved erratically overhead. Wow, it sounds like they're literally, describing an aerial battle between something like a black spear. That's crazy. Over Nuremberg. UFOologists have speculated that these phenomena have been extraterrestrial spacecraft. Skeptics assert that the phenomenon was likely to have been another astronomical phenomenon, such as a sundog. Whoa, that does look crazy. I wonder if that's what the guy saw in the Roman Empire earlier before he stopped that battle. Although the print does not fit the usual classic description of the phenomenon. Yeah, this looks totally different than a sundog.